Yo, if you're anything like me, you're hyped about RELL Cs. Some of us are hyped up about devil fruits, others are hyped up on the bosses and combat, and some people are just happy for a good One Piece game. But the one thing we have in common is we're all excited for this game, but if you take a closer look, you start to wonder, what aspect of RELL Cs is the general public most excited about? Because if you think about it, the aspect we're most hyped on also has a good chance on being the most important mechanic in RELL Cs. So taking that into account, let's try and find the most important / most exciting mechanic that most people are looking forward to in the game. We will be doing a tier list based on how much hype and viability in game. Now, quick disclaimer before we get into this video, all of this research I've done for this video is me just personally going through recent and past RELL Cs videos. So I'm not obviously an expert on this, it's just my opinion on what's the most hyped aspects of RELL Cs. If you agree or disagree, just let me know down in the comments down below. Again, it's not that deep, bro. Just let me know how you feel about this video. Now, to just solidify the ranking system real quick, I'll be doing this tier list based off of the hype around a subject and the likelihood that it would actually play out in RELL Cs. Basically, how hyped is something and what's the chances of it meeting our expectations in game. Now, with that being said, let's get into the James of this all-star lineup of RELL Cs content. The hockey. Now, before you say anything, yes, I know to some people there may be a more anticipated part of RELL Cs other than hockey. But if you really think about it, pretty much every aspect of RELL Cs media talks about hockey. From the YouTube videos to the TikTok pages I see on my For You page to someone just yapping about it, hockey is everywhere. So whether or not we meant it to be this way, it is one of the most sought after aspects of RELL Cs. So yes, let's get into hockey right away. Hockey in RELL Cs is a very well covered and showcased aspect of the game, especially with the most coveted feature of it, Conqueror's Hockey. At least once every Roblox One Piece player has dreamed about using Conqueror's Hockey in game to knock out enemies and just apply their overwhelming aura like they do straight out of One Piece. And thankfully the Robos have finally incorporated a free and well developed version of this into RELL Cs. We know not only is it in the game, it's very lore accurate and does things similar to One Piece, such as knocking people out, having crazy range, and knocking out Zoan fruits. On top of that, there's still much mystery around this ability because it's not entirely confirmed how one goes about obtaining this ability, only adding on to the desire we see for it. There's countless people out there saying I'm gonna make a Shanks build only, or I'm gonna make hockey only for sure, and there's a reason why. So combining the hype for hockey on social media and in the community alongside its very well fleshed out showcases of the ability, we have reason to believe it will be seamlessly implemented with no issues into RELL Cs. Therefore, this aspect or ability of the game is going straight to A+, borderline S. So now that we started off with a heavy hitter on this chart, let's pull into the world of the calm second or third option, the Kyrie Irving of this list. Now, what system am I talking about here? I am obviously talking about the combat system of RELL Cs. Now here's a few things to note. The combat system in RELL Cs has gone through multiple remakes and has occasionally gotten a lot of spotlight and sometimes gets very little coverage in RELL Cs videos. So because of these factors, it's low-key kinda hard for this part of RELL Cs to gain a lot of attention and traction, and there's even some controversy surrounding it. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm referring to specifically the ladder combat / air combat system that RELL Cs has decided to move on with going forward. Some people are big fans of it as it brings change and uniqueness to the game while also maintaining a bit of realism to One Piece itself, because if you couldn't tell, especially recently in the anime, lots of fights are taking place in the air. Now, as far as the combat expectations being met in RELL Cs, it's probably more than likely doing exactly what is promised, a solid combat system for a great game. We've gotten a lot of combat clips from RELL Cs, but I must admit that some versions are outdated, but the general idea has stayed the same and there's no real mystery to the combat. The Robos have been very transparent as far as how it works, which is good. So to wrap up combat, I'd say its hype isn't that high, probably a C+ tier, maybe B for some people. And as far as its likelihood to play out well in RELL Cs, probably solid B as well. So in general, I'd give this part of RELL Cs a B on the hype tier list. Alright, now going back to more of the heavy hitters of RELL Cs, let's move on to the next powerhouse of RELL Cs hype, the devil fruits. One of the main things in RELL Cs and One Piece in general. Now the thing about devil fruits in RELL Cs is that it's actually not as hyped up as one would imagine for such a pillar of the game. Yes, it's hyped up and yes, there's lots of coverage and clips on it, but again, like I said earlier, most of the TikToks I see on RELL Cs are talking about hockey, not devil fruits. But there's also the underlying fact that, like they say in these TikToks, most people, as soon as they see a fruit in RELL Cs, are picking that up and eating it immediately. Now, I'm not sure that qualifies as pre-game hype, but it does have to mean something as far as player excitement for this part of the game. But yeah, switching over to the game delivery aspect, I think it's abundantly clear that RELL C's devil fruits are going to be amazing in the game for many reasons. There's the viability of it in combat, meaning it's not useless. There's the glamour of having a devil fruit and all the fun that it provides in one item. And there's the depth of content in the fruits. There's well fleshed out Zoan fruits, Logia fruits, Paramecias, and the RELL Bros have promised that all of them will be useful. We have seen no reason to believe that they're lying. So as far as hype, I would say the devil fruit hype is a solid A tier, but as far as gameplay delivery, it's most definitely going to be S tier, similar to hockey. So in total, I'm putting this as an A+. Alright, we've covered heavy hitters and solid background picks, but now let's get into the underrated aspects, the Evan Mobleys out there. For this pick, I'm talking about the possible player-driven market of RELL C's. Now, as far as hype for this part of RELL C's, I would say this is a very niche subject in the RELL C's community. Only true intellectuals could realize the benefits and enjoyment that something like this in RELL C's could bring. It brings so much more to do in the game without there actually needing to be updates or content for it. There's really levels to this. But enough glazing. As far as hype for this aspect, it's very low, almost non-existent, which is fair because people aren't really thinking about this as far as RELL C's and One Piece in general. Now, as far as this having a chance to be properly implemented into RELL C's, I actually made a video on this earlier that should be out before this one, but basically it's not a very high chance because creating a well-designed player-driven market in a Roblox game requires a lot of effort and constant attention. So there's a good chance this isn't really implemented into RELL C's very well, but it would be lit if it was. So yeah, total grade for this one is pretty clearly going to be a C, C- maybe. It has hella potential, but the hype for it is so niche and the chances of it being put in game are low. I mean, the RELL Bros did mention wanting a player-driven market in RELL C's, but I am almost positive it's in the back of their mind as far as the game's development. Alright, so for this video, we have two more aspects of RELL C's to cover, and the last one I'm bringing up is probably the only S tier in the video. But before we get to the GOAT of this video, we gotta talk about one more prospect. And it's honestly still a very well discussed and easily a top 2 most covered part of RELL C's. And for this part, we will be combining ship customization and the underwater system in general. Both of these things are C related, so I'm going to just throw them together because I am lazy. But as far as hype for these aspects, there is tons of it. People make so many videos on the RELL C's underwater system, including me, as well as mentioning theories on how it works and how it could be. It's a little mysterious and not totally transparent, but it still has tons of clips, and we've even gotten more recently. As for ship customization, that had an entire section of coverage in just movie 1, which also made movie 1 kind of boring, but yes, we do have lots of footage on it. Also, there's people whose whole RELL C's dream goal is to literally make a cooking ship or trading ship and just chill on the ocean, role playing and having a good time. So for both hype and implementation into RELL C's, I would give this a solid B on a tier list. It gets lots of attention and it's guaranteed to be a unique and enjoyable aspect of RELL C's. And now for the grand finale, the final boss, the MVP, the Shea Gilgeous-Alexander of this list, and I bet you haven't even thought about it yet. I am talking about the promised non-batted beater aspect of RELL C's, with the emphasis on the boss fights. This part of RELL C's is so overlooked and people have sort of pushed it to the back of their mind, but this is a defining factor of RELL C's, the big daddy of the whole thing. Yes, the attention on it has died down, but I'm giving this a pass because it's such a crucial aspect of the game. This takes RELL C's beyond just a One Piece game and lets it trespass into the domain of goated anime games. It's a genre-defining feature of RELL C's. When you think back on it, you realize that this is one of the biggest reasons RELL C's got so much coverage when it first went from CC to mainstream. It was promised to not be a bandit beater, which really changed everything for this game's trajectory. Now, as far as delivery for this in RELL C's, we have seen a lot about it, but also not enough. We've seen, of course, the new mastery system the RELL Bros promised, which is another way to progress in the game without it just being a bandit beater. They've shown the fishing system, the mastery progression, stat system, etc. But we haven't seen a full playthrough on how a quest in RELL C's plays out, aka the main core aspect of majority of the game time. But we have seen tons of bosses and boss clips, which brings up the question, is fighting bosses going to be the main form of combat progression in RELL C's? Or is there going to be a storyline system that involves other NPCs like bandits, but it's just not going to be a bandit beater where you have to repeat the same quests over and over? Basically, who are we going to be fighting for majority of the game? I'm assuming it's going to be the bosses just based off the sheer amount of leaks we've got on them, but I also would like groups of NPCs to fight, so we can try new moves and combos on somebody, because of course I don't want to fight a boss every time I want some PvE combat. But yeah, as far as hype and implementation, we're getting an S tier for both, rounding this off as the one and only S tier aspect of RELL Seas. But yeah, that's my little yab about RELL Seas today. Let me know in the comments down below if you agree or disagree, and let me know if I was cooking or not, chat. But kind of a longer video today, so let me know also if you enjoy this type of content and want more. If you like me and my content, make sure to join my Discord in the description down below. And if you really want to support me, go to my Twitch at twitch.tv/kimsauce05 and follow me there. I am very close to hitting affiliate, and I really appreciate the extra support. I stream Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, so come by anytime and we could talk about RELL Seas and just play games. Link will also be in the description down below. But yeah, thank you for watching. See you guys in the next one.